Good morning, and it's Lilia from Heal Scotland here. And today, on this beautiful sunny day, I've got Alan and Janine from New Revolution Coaching. Lovely to see you guys. How you doing?
Yes, we're fine.
Yeah, very good, thanks.
Are you just moved house or something, did you say?
Aye, we've been in the process of just shifting a few things around, so we're almost there now.
Good stuff. So, you're having your first ever Scotland's Wild Medicine Festival presentation this year. So thank you so much for being part of it. So I just wanted to get you on so that people can meet you and find out what it is you do and why they would come to you, and obviously they can come and meet you. Are you going to be at the festival all weekend?
We'll probably be up for the day, just with the kids and stuff like that. But I'm really looking forward to coming along. It looks like it's been growing year on year. Every time I see it, it looks like it's expanding. Yes. There's lots more good stuff going on. So it'll just be nice to come up and connect with some like-minded people.
Yeah, absolutely. So New Revolution Coaching. Well, I first met you guys over in Edinburgh at Gary's. Well, that wasn't the first time I met you, but certainly the first time we got a proper chat. So tell us about your business and what it is that you do.
I suppose it's multifaceted would be the best way to describe it, because Janine has her, I suppose, arm of coaching that she does, which is all around like health, fitness, particularly targeting or working with parents who want to get fit, get strong, improve their health and their mindset. And for me, I work primarily now with leaders, doing coaching. So it's all around like mindset, all about transition. So when maybe leaders are moving into new roles and things like that, working with them on, I suppose, getting up to speed, being successful, and also like just improving their well-being and things like that as well. So it's been a bit of a moving feast, to be honest, over the last few years. I've done loads and loads of different stuff, events, retreats. Obviously, the coaching niche has sort of changed and evolved as well, but that's all part of my own evolution and also Janine's as well.
Yeah, well, I think we're all the same, aren't we? And I think we're all doing so many different courses. We're learning. I mean, the speed of the information that's coming out right now, it's crazy trying to keep up with it all, and you have to evolve. And there's so many people doing this, similar kind of things. So it's really important that you stay on top of the game, really, isn't it? And somebody said to me about Heal Scotland, they said, oh, so you're not just helping people to heal, you're helping the people who help the people to heal. And I was like, well, yeah, that's absolutely it, isn't it? We're all, everybody needs support and help. And that's what I always, set out with Heal Scotland, to be an umbrella for all the people that are doing incredible things in health, wellness, and performance, really. Because whether you're wanting to perform so that you can provide for your family, or whether you're wanting to perform so that you can go into the Olympics, it's all really the same thing. It comes down to this, doesn't it?
It really does. And I think that's kind of the message I think that we were going to bring home at the festival, to be honest, which is around like, there's so many incredible things that you can tap into, so many amazing communities, but I think also it's about the really simple things, the things that we often miss and ignore in our daily lives, that we can get so much joy from when we build a greater appreciation. But sometimes that means moving all of the layers of bullshit out of the way so that we can actually see all the good that's already present, without necessarily chasing, in my own experience of chasing all the big powerful breakthroughs, experiences, the plant medicines, the powerful breath work, all of that's all got a place, but also there's a lot of beauty just sitting right under our noses if we can just tap into it.
100%. I was over in India last month at this incredibly beautiful wedding in nature, and I was saying to my friend who owns the farm, I said, sitting here listening to the birds, looking at the beauty of nature, that's really, I don't really need, and it was hot. I do like being hot, I have to say. And I thought, it's so simple, these needs, isn't it?
Aye, for sure, absolutely. And I think, I suppose, over this last 12 months in particular, a lot of the work that we've been doing has probably been more between us. Yeah. Our own dynamic has been, I suppose, the centre of our own development. Relationships in particular are a powerful medicine when we begin to tap into it. And that's been a lot of the things that we've been focusing on. It's a lot of conversations that we often have between us is about like the work we're doing, and I suppose the dynamic between us and how all that plays together.
But I think the really important things, it comes down to, like, you know, how when you do all these different types of modalities and fitness and exercise and using all these different tools for your health, for your well-being, but the real work really is in the daily life. Like when you come back to reality, when you come back into you step back into real life, your life, and the relationships you're having between, you know, your partner or your friends, your family. These are really the biggest. What would you say? The biggest.
Probably the biggest areas that test how far you've truly come, I would say.
Where your growth is really shown. If like these modalities truly are working, you know, you can meditate for as long as you want, but I mean, it's not going to do it. And when it comes to dealing with a screaming child, you can't just sit and meditate when your child's having a tantrum.
Yeah.
Well, this is it, isn't it? Your relationships, if you can stay in a loving, kind, respectful relationship, it means that all the practices that you're preaching about what are working. Because I think, you know, as we see the mess, let's face it, the mess that can be around with broken families, traumatized children, all the labels that they have right now, and how, you know, families are blended families and how challenging that all becomes. We have to be looking at it and looking at, well, you know, and I say this all the time from a Heal Scotland perspective, your biggest challenge is to love your neighbour. You can drink as much carrot juice as you want, but if you're being nasty and vindictive about the people that live around you, forget it. You know, it's and that's from the Sedona method perspective. We talk about the 3 areas where things can go pear-shaped: your health, your wealth, and your relationships. And ironically, if your relationships are loving and kind and respectful and have got strong boundaries, then your health will probably be better, and so will your wealth.
100%.
So ultimately, you know, so it was lovely to see that you guys are doing some stuff in that area, because I think it's really, really needed.
Yeah.
I think one thing that we've been chatting about recently is like our relationship to each other. Now, being parents, of course, when you're not a parent, you can take away like the stress and stuff of having to be an adult for your children. But like when you've got children, it really brings out a lot of your inner kind of child, your inner responses, and when things can get tested. But I think what we've been talking about in relationships is that, like, when you're in like a loving relationships with somebody that's working with you, then you can become a stronger foundation for your kids. And if you're really, like, a lot of people will say, put your kids first, you know, kids come first all the time, etc. What we've realised is if like we put our relationship first, then everything from that will thrive. Our kids are much better, they're thriving, like, but if the relationship dynamic is not there, or it's
we're going through harder times.
Yeah, if we're going through harder times, then, you know, it's not just you guys that suffer, it's the kids as well, more so than anything. So like I think our message is like really putting your relationship first, and then everything from that will succeed or thrive.
Amazingly resilient, and they copy, right? So you want them to be copying loving, kind, compassionate, strong relationships. And because we know that you know, that especially before they're 2, there's a lot of stuff going in that we didn't really understand, and certainly up till the age of 7. And obviously the genetics of that, and all of that. if we want to be looking longer term and generations ahead, us doing the work, of course, they say about this, keep your eyes off others and get your eyes onto yourself. And I think you're absolutely right. My friend said years ago, like probably 30 years ago, she's got 3 sons. She said, oh no, she said, me and my partner, we're the important thing. These guys will grow up and leave. You know, and where are you then?
It's like try to find harmony in your home. I think that's the message. It's very easy, and look, because there's so many like amazing communities out there, and I've been part of it, and you know, obviously led retreats and all of this good stuff, and it's all amazing, right? It's like, but it's like often what happens is we can go to these places because like we're actually feeling a really deep sense of loneliness, and we could be in a relationship, we could be living with family, we could be with a partner, but there are parts of ourselves that haven't been fully witnessed or seen or loved, or even shared for that matter. And so, you know, we find ourselves gravitating even to like well spaces, which I suppose is better than unwell spaces. But, you know, at the core of it, there's something in us that is, you know, there's a disharmony going on within ourselves. And it's like when we have the courage to step into any type of connection, doesn't need to be a romantic relationship, could be a deeply connected friendship, for example, or it could be, you know, it could be a community where there is a real, you know, focus on deep truth. I think that when human beings like we experience that, I think something really transformational can happen. But the hard part of all of that is one, being able to hold all of that for yourself, because we are holding so much suppressed energy. It could be sexual energy, it could be emotional energy, mental energy. We're holding all that. And also it's then the trust of those around you, either in the community or in the relationship or the friendship. It's like, do they have the maturity, the compassion, the understanding to hold that thing, to hold that energy, should you wish to bring it to the surface? But when you do that, that's when, you know, there is no other medicine that I've experienced or a practice that I've experienced that is so profoundly transformative. It's almost like, for example, you know, we've had some rocky moments in our journey, right? And it's like, and I can almost witness this like little child coming up that wants to like sabotage the whole thing and project, and because the fear is so overwhelming. But when you hold that fear and when you like speak to it honestly, and it's held and seen, and the person doesn't run away or judge you or project their own thing into it, it's like, oh wait, like, yeah, like, oh, and then it's like this huge weight can come off, and all of a sudden that loneliness you maybe felt, you know, that desire to be validated in the eyes of the world, even in the wellness space, all begins to fall away, all begins to dissolve, and then you're just back in the moment, right? You're just back in this like beautiful connection to yourself and beautiful connection to your partner and your kids. And I think that's at the core of it, right? Is if you can do that thing, that really hard thing, and you can do it in that environment where it's someone's doing it with you, then I mean, that's the medicine we all need, right? And even if you can't, right, there are places to go and ways to do it, you know, that can really, you know, help us move forward in the right way.
And, you know, it's definitely not a job. Raising kids like that is not a job for 1 or 2 people. You know, we need to be, it's got to be in the communities. And as you know, I ran a community 6 years ago, actually, on the 1st of April it was. And just to prove and to demonstrate, if you do these things every day, it's not rocket science, the body will respond and change. I think pretty much everybody knows and understands that. But it's the actual doing of it that is the challenging bit. And you can go away and do plant medicines, you can go away and do retreats, and then you still have to come back and do the do. And the vagus nerve activation is getting activated by somebody phoning you, asking a stupid question because they didn't read the website. And, you know, you're just like, and these are the trigger, you know, that's the daily stuff that can set you into a bad mood without you even realizing. And if it's in your home and then one of the kids come in, or there's dinner all over the floor, these are the stuff, the things that happen on a daily basis when you've got a family and when you've got a business and when you've got a charity.
I know, 100%. Honestly, have just begun to saw my own well-being, at least anyway, in a completely different light. You know, I've been in such a journey. It's been a decade now of doing all this, and I've had loads of highs and tons of lows and lots of humbling moments, you know, and the universe continues to deliver things. It's like, oh, wait, you know, maybe I wasn't quite as enlightened as I thought I was, or there's a blind spot there. I just never realised that. But I think all in all, like, it just teaches you, like, when you get the right people around you, and when you do start to look for just like more harmony in the simple places in your life. And I genuinely, like, I actually realise that being well is actually, as much as there is a really sick world out there, is that it's not too hard to actually take the reins of our own health and well-being and start to really nurture it in different ways, you know.
Things are like really simple but not easy.
Yeah.
I say this to my clients all the time. Like, obviously, I work with a lot of people who are like trying to lose weight or are training for an event or something like that. But a lot of the times, that what you need to change isn't what you think you need to change. A lot of the times, it's just the small daily habits, you know, like your sleep, looking at things like how you're sleeping, how you're eating, do you know what I mean? Like, all these kind of things. It's really, most of the time, that what you think you're looking for isn't actually what you're looking for. It's literally just changing really simple, easy daily habits that will literally change your life for good.
Sleep's a huge thing. I don't know about you guys, but so many people are saying to me about their sleep. And luckily, touch wood, it's always been a superpower of mine. But, you know, as we know, all the detoxing and healing happens through the night, but you need to be sleeping properly to access all of that. So, and then, of course, it's very tempting now. Back in the day, you would just have had to get on with it. But now you can switch on your laptop or your, you know, and you can stay out all night, and then people are exhausted in the morning and black out.
It's like digital detoxing as well. Like, it's so super important to, you know, be coming away from that computer screen, that phone screen, at least an hour, 2 hours before you go to bed, like, so that you can actually get a decent sleep. What time of the day you eating at? Like, do you know what I mean? You like going to bed, having a huge meal, and then going to sleep. Like, that's not going to that's going to interrupt your sleep, which then interrupts, you know, you for the rest of the day. Like, there's so many little things that you can just change that will have huge impacts on your daily life. Like, and overall,
it's the C word, isn't it? The C word,
everything.
Change.
It's, as I said, simple, not easy. Like, it's all simple, very simple things, but not easy, because of course we're conditioned to be, you know, in this society, we're conditioned to be a certain way. We're not conditioned to live well. That is the truth.
Well, you two people working full time, children, expectations. You know, you've got
the expectations of women are horrific, like, are off the scale.
Men.
You know, and men, of course. But like, as a woman, you've got like the pressure of like trying to juggle everything and take on the house, the kids, be a full-time mum, but also be full-time working. You know, you're judged if you're not working, you're judged if you are working. You're like, there's just a never-ending cycle there. You're meant to be presentable. It's like,
well, it swings, doesn't it? For a while it was like, why are you not working? And now it's like, why are you working? It's like, well, I've got a bloody mortgage, that's why, a lot of the time. You know, and if people are honest, not very many women want to be 24/7 in the house with the kids, especially in Scotland, stuck in the house all day. You know, you need some kind of, I suppose, you know,
adult relation as well.
It's how can we create or co-create, you know, because it comes down to the communities. And I just ran 14 retreats up in Skye. And we were, you know, we saw phenomenal results. But I know what happens. You go back and then life gets in the way again. And that's what happens to every single one of us. We've known with addiction communities, you can go into rehab, but you're going back to where all the problems started. You know, it takes, so that's why we have to be looking at this from a community level. you know, what's going on in the community. The pub culture's died. I don't know, it's different in the cities, but here, most of our pubs and hotels are closed all the way down the Mull of Kintyre. So what are we going to replace it with? You know, if we can look at it positively and go, well, we need to create another way to get together and have fun, to get to know the people in the area, because I think that's really, really important, is to know who's living around you for lots of reasons. I think, you know, we can be kinder when we know people. So there's so, and I love my friend John, he's always says feeling better might not be that far away. I think people get overwhelmed, you know, with like, oh, I need to change my diet, you know, I need to do this, I need to be nicer to my mother, all of the stuff that we all pretty much know, but we don't do. You just focus on one thing, you know, maybe having more fibre.
So, you know, one thing at a time, 1 week at a time, 1 day at a time, just like stripping it all back, you know. Like, the thing is, most people are doing like a lot of things already, but they're just not doing it to optimal, or they're not doing it intentionally, you know.
They say they're doing it and they're not actually doing it. Like intermittent fasting. Well, I do that. I'm like, oh, I do you.
The thing is, so I suppose this is what the festival is about, right? In some ways, it's about education, because it's like, when you know better, you can do better, right? But the truth is, a lot of people don't.
Sometimes that's not the case. You know,
we don't, you know. But that's the thing. But it's all awareness, right? It's just all like, the more aware you become of something, the more you can explore it, the more you can feel it. And I think that in all of that, that's when, you know, maybe you start doing something and it changes your life instantaneously. You know that person that walks in, does the plant medicine journey, and goes off and just transforms the rest of their life after one experience. That's amazing. But whether it's plant medicine, meditation, your diet, the gym, running, whatever it is, for some people, it's just a gradual unfolding. It's layer by layer by layer, deeper levels of awareness, more acute understanding of the blind spots and the ways you keep yourself stuck, and the little thought patterns, because it's all us, right? That's the reality. As much as we want to point to the outside world, it's all begins and really ends with us, and we're playing our part in this collective madness that's unfolding here.
Yes, and absolutely.
So we're all part of it. We all have a little proportion of the dysfunction of humanity, and it's like the C word that you mentioned. I'm thinking the C word. I'm thinking about is compassion. That's the thing. At the very heart of it, I'm like, there is no progress without compassion. How could there be? Because, I mean, we've all done fucked up shit. You know, we've all had fucked up shit happen to us. And it's like, at some point, there has to be some forgiveness and compassion for each other, and mostly for ourselves as well.
And we are also human, right? Yeah. So, like, these things, like, we may be doing so well in one area of our life, and like, think, oh, I've left that part of me behind me, but then all of a sudden something happens one day, and then woof, bang, you're back to the exact same spot. Exactly. Recognition does really need to come in for everybody. Like, we need to recognize that, you know, that people are trying to change their life. They are like doing the thing, but also it's okay to know that it's okay that if you fall back, that there's still going to be support there. There's still people
back in the hall. You know? Michael Mosley's book, I don't know if you read it, Fast 800, kind of dissing all the diet and stuff that we believed crash dieting doesn't work. Yes, actually it does. It works way better than air. You know, all these kind of things that you're like, well, actually, let's start looking at what's the truth rather than just what we've been regurgitated and repeated. And the festival's a phenomenal and a really great economical way over 3 days to try all sorts of different things. A lot of the time you're just getting reminded, right? A lot of the stuff you know, but you've maybe started doing it and then, why did I stop doing that? So you're getting re-inspired. Obviously, I always say to people, learn all this stuff before you need it. Because if you get a diagnosis, which with 25% of our country currently not well enough to work, we're in a bad way. Yeah. So we need people to go, right, well, what can I do to help myself and my kids' health? I mean, it's absolutely critical that we look at this now. We can't just go, oh, well, one day when I'm older, I'll do it. It's right. No, we need to look at this now, because ain't no politician, ain't no big pharma rep going to come and say, look, they don't even know, to be honest. I don't even think it's just, I just think they're so busy focusing on the money thing, they've not got a clue. And I've said it for years, how can you have a vibrant economy with sick people? Surely you would understand that you need to have vibrant humans that are creative and full of ideas to create the world that we all want to live in. So it's not going to come from them. So it's going to have to be up to us, I believe, to be the change that we want to be. And I think one of the big things, I was listening to Jordan Peterson the other day talking about, getting married is not just about falling in love and staying in love forever. You're having a family and you're bringing a family up, and get really focused on how important that is. And it's not all about you, because I think we have become quite entitled, and all of us, like expecting an awful lot of comfort, and instead of going, well, actually life can be quite hard, and sometimes you just have to get up and go on with it. So what? We've got running hot water, we've got central heating, we've got food for now. So really we need to be focusing, like you said, on the positive stuff. So tell us what you're going to be what are you going to be talking about at the festival?
I think if memory serves me right, I think it's more of it's a bit of a general talk, to be honest. We're not going to be drilling down into one particular thing. The temptation was there because obviously we've both got a lot of experience in particular things, but I think it's more like a call to appreciate the things that are often right there in front of us, to find, like I said before, harmony in your home. How do you do that? It's being able to bring yourself out of the loneliness, having those really honest but sometimes difficult conversations. And maybe just some of the ways that people can approach that, how do you do those things, and what are some of the practices that we use to anchor ourselves on our own journey. Very much just a bit of a general talk about, how do you stay well in this challenging environment.
Yeah, I know, and that's really what we're looking for, isn't it? Ideas. And what, do you work together or do you teach independently? How did your business model work?
Probably a little bit of both. We work independently, but probably this year's been the first year we've been okay, maybe there's some way for us to interweave our gifts. So that's very much something that's a bit of a moving feast at the moment.
Mm-hmm. What is your website?
It's www.u-revolution.co.uk.
u-revolution.co.uk.
Yeah.
I maybe put it in the thing, I don't know, but let's put it in there now. So people want to, it's something I've been thinking about for a while. I would love to do more around families, around relationships, and especially for single parents and parents that are trying to do it on their own. And I suppose, I think people that are doing it together, how do you keep it lighthearted, keep it fun as much as it can be, because we all know that raising kids can be very, very challenging because of the love you have. They take you to places that you would never go if you didn't have them. My son's got a 17-year-old and a 10-month-old, so he's kind of both ends of the spectrum right now. And I mean, it's the most rewarding, incredible job, but let's make no mistake, we all know it's hard work, because people say to me, how do you do everything you do? And I said, see, having 3 kids under 3, nothing could ever be as difficult as that.
It's funny, a lot of what we've been talking about recently, and I think this is also probably part of our own evolution, is around the whole relationship thing. Because we've been doing all this work, we've supported loads of people out there in the community through different things, whether it's fitness, plant medicines, coaching, we're now supporting leaders, parents, but there's this sort of ongoing dialogue that we both have of I think we have a lot to share on relationships. I mean, I certainly do, because I've had so many tumultuous experiences myself, and and had to really, and we both had to come face to face, and I have a lot of our blind spots, otherwise our relationship wouldn't be working. And I'm kind of the lived experience that we both have, as well as the skills that we've developed. There's a part of us that's always is that actually really where we should be doing our work? Because I think there's a lot of truth that we could both, but part of sharing that truth is also overcoming the fears that we have in ourselves around sharing our voice on this really powerful topic.
I know. Well, I recently, over the last kind of 2 years, a lot of my nieces and nephews and the young people that I call nieces and nephews have got married, and you're at the wedding and it's fantastic, and there's always that part of me going, how can we support these young couples that are just going into it? And again, it's kind of like, don't wait till you start really fighting and hate each other before you go for help. Let's start learning about a lot of things that you can, like love languages, for example, is a really basic, simple thing. Are you talking each other's language? Are you recognizing each other's languages? And how we can make it a much more kind of easy to talk about. It's not a sign of failure. There's nothing wrong with you. I think everybody probably listening to this is going through their fair share of dodgy, for want of a better word, relationships that have been maybe traumatic and abusive. But it's and that's all part of learning, isn't it? What you want and what you don't want. But also, when you start doing the work and you're rather than just bouncing from partner to partner, it's actually going, well, let me just take a look at myself. What do I want? And am I the things that I want? Am I being the reflection of that?
Yeah. For me, like that hits home a lot because that is kind of what my life has been like up to this point. I ended up falling into, I went through all different types of relationships when I was younger, and then moved across the other side of the world and ended up in the same type of relationship that I had back here. It was that kind of sense of I was running away from here because I was doing all the same things. But what you realize is when you move away and you realize that all the stuff, everything that's going on, like all the troubles in your relationship was never really anything to do with the other person. It was actually just to do with you and who you are and how you handle relationships and stuff. And I never really looked at that until I was in that position where I was completely on my own, ended up falling pregnant, had a baby at the other side of the world. And I was at a position in my life where I was like, what's happened? Like, what has happened? Like, why am I not happy? Like, and yeah, basically you can't run away from yourself, right?
You take yourself with you, don't you?
All with you. So then the relationship, of course, that I was in over there was just it was just similar dynamics to what I had always found myself getting into. And then I had to come back because that relationship broke down. And then from there, that's where my work really began was, here I am back home in Scotland after thinking I was going to travel away to Australia and live this amazing life. And, I had all the ideas in my head, but, if you've not done any work in yourself, nothing's really going to change, right? And came back and had to start up from scratch. And yeah, I think I'll probably touch more on that at the festival.
I think that's a really relevant thing because, there's certain things that we think once we get this, we'll be happy. It's that whole kind of that happiness is in the future somewhere. And when we get certain material things and certain emotional things and have the family and all the things that we thought we wanted to make us happy, and then you're still not happy and you're like, all right, okay, right now I need to really think about this. And, I've got a granddaughter who's 12.
I did believe that as soon as you got, you were in a relationship and it was just these continuous steps that everybody takes where they get in a relationship, they have a baby, they get a house, they get married, and then that would make me happy. But
we all live happily ever after.
Hello. But of course, there was something deep within me that was like, this is not right for me. So, yeah.
Sorry, I've got my dog's just arrived. Yeah, as I was saying, I've got a granddaughter that's 12, and you're like, what kind of you want to put that old head on the young shoulders, obviously, but it's how we can have these conversations around who you're choosing to certainly be the father of your child, and how to really identify your kind of ancestral, my friend, I'm a big fan of family constellations and understanding how patterns play through, and how we can really get all this information out so that young men and young women really understand the patterns that can happen, and not taking things personally because people end up just behaving through their trauma. But that's not necessary either now. And now everything gets blamed on trauma, and you're like that. Well, actually, maybe if you just grow up, take responsibility. So it's that whole balance, isn't it?
For me, it was like an unknown of me, though. It was an unknown of who I truly am in my core. Like, I had got to a point in my life where, because of how I'm meant to be, or who I'm meant to be, or how my life is meant to pan out, just by watching everybody else around me, that, that's what I was meant to do. But there's just something deep inside me that was just, it never resonated with the life that I was continuously living. So I felt like I got to a point where I didn't even know myself. You know that saying, people hit a midlife crisis? I felt like I hit that at like 25, and I was like, what am I doing with my life? So I ran away. To Australia, booked one-way flight and 4 days accommodation, and just thought, I'll wing it. And that's what I did.
I think where to begin for anybody listening who might be interested in this about having a successful relationship, number one, with yourself, and number two, with anybody, whether it's romantic in a friendship, is Ram Dass said, scratch deep enough into any human being, you will find some level of unworthiness. And it's this sense of not enough that often becomes the biggest challenge. That's where all of the triggers come from. That's where all of the projections come from. That is why, and it's going to sound, it's a bit difficult, but that's why we tolerate things that we wouldn't normally tolerate. Difficult people, situations, things that are happening in and around us that we're like, but it's because we don't love ourselves enough. And so we're willing to accept, or we're willing to understand things that we know are fundamentally outside of our boundaries, or are completely unacceptable in the eyes of normal society. And the question really needs to be is like, what's the role you're playing in your own suffering, right? That's basically it. And that's where it all begins. It's like this amazing orchestration where almost every person is coming to you in some way and is showing you something about yourself. It's either showing you the completeness and the love and the joy that's already present within, or it's showing you the lack and the work that you have to do, the gap between where you are and where you want to try and be. And, having navigated a lot of this myself, I hold like deep compassion for anybody who is going through that. But at the end of it, the only way it changes is when you decide to change it. And often that is with the difficult admissions with yourself, the difficult conversations, the walking away from the things that you know are not good for you or your family or your kids. And and I think like that's when change happens. But we live in a society that is so like obsessed by the material world and how things look rather than how they are. And I think like that keeps so many people stuck, is we're just trying to hang on to how we think it should be in the eyes of our parents or our friends. We don't want to be divorced, or don't want to walk away, don't want to lose the big card, what will happen to the kids? But meanwhile, you're like dying in quiet desperation, as a man in particular. I've been there, but I've seen it, in partners and stuff as well. I can see that the dynamics between us are just, are not right, and it's killing both our souls, right? But nobody wants to let go because you don't want to be judged or shamed and all of that shit. And we have to fucking let go of that in order to build a better life. And this is it. This is the work, right? The work is like finding harmony in your home, coming back home from the meditation retreat, from the plant medicines, coming back into the everyday grind, and then having the courage to go, right, do you know what? Sitting with ayahuasca in my system for 6 hours isn't hard in comparison to sitting and actually saying to this person, this is what I really want in my life. Yeah. This is who I truly am. Are you on board with that? Where are we going? These are the things that basically most people, sometimes doing all that other stuff is an actual some way an act of avoidance.
Yeah.
Because it's
100%.
Connection, right? And it's beautiful at the time, but these are people you might never see again. they don't actually love you, because how could they? They've just fucking met you. But the people at your home, your kids, your partner, they love you, right? But they can only love you at the depths that you're willing to go with them, right? And likewise, you can only love them at the depths that they're willing to go with you. So this is kind of what the direction of travel, I think, that we'll probably talk about at the festival, is these things. And how do you wrap, the basic practices around that, all the fundamental stuff, but how do you do these hard things? Because that's where the real growth happens. It's just,
it's radical responsibility, isn't it? And great communication, and it's the fear of having the conversations, and the fear of losing something that you've already lost probably anyway, or you never had. So yes, all of that. Yeah, well, no, I think that's a phenomenal way to go. It's very much needed, and I don't really see very much like that out there. I think any help. I think just opening the conversation's hugely helpful as well.
Yeah.
So listen, I'm looking forward to seeing you. What day is today? Friday, isn't it? A week tomorrow, I'll see you in Tarbert. And thank you again so much. And I'll make some short reels from this as well, and I can share it with you as well for your socials. And thanks very much for your time.
Amazing.
Thanks
so
much.
Good to see you, Lilia.
Yeah, you too. I look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you.